Welcome to the third lecture of network theorems. In this lecture, we are going to see the all-important maximum power transfer theorem and intelligence theorem. So let us first talk about maximum power transfer theorem. This is one of the most important theorems, not only for the network theory, but also for a lot of new subjects which you are going to study down in your BTech syllabus. For example, if we talk about the transmission lines like this one, uh, why is maximum power transfer is important? So what does these transmission lines do? They take electricity or electrical energy from electricity generating stations, and through these wires, they transfer this to your home. So if there is a mismatch between these transmission lines and the electricity generator station, then there will be not the maximum power transfer of that electricity power to these transmission lines, and so the efficiency will be less. So all you would like is that the maximum power from the electricity power generation point is transferred through these transmission lines. So there will be a term called impedance matching, which will be coming in this particular topic when we discuss it in detail. So if the impedance of these transmission lines is not matched with the impedance of electricity power generating station, then the maximum power will not be transferred and the efficiency will be less. So the first application of this theorem directly comes here. Then we all have TVs in our home. So if you see on the back side of your TV, you will see there are a lot of ports. So for example, if you have a dish connection and there is a cable, dish cable going into your TV, so the signal that is coming from either your satellite dish or from your cable operator, if you want your signal to be completely and with maximum efficiency go into your TV so that your picture quality is best, you would like that the maximum power from the cable should be going into the, so you would like that the maximum power in this cable should be going into the TV. So there should also be an impedance matching between the this particular coaxial cable, which is your dish antenna cable, and the input of your TV, right? Also in the wireless communication also, this maximum power transfer is very important. And the simplest and the best example is a radio. So by the antenna of the radio, you receive signal, and that signal is converted in the form of electrical voltage and current through this antenna and goes inside your radio, and then you listen a station. So whether it is an FM radio or AM radio or whatever. So the impedance of this antenna and the impedance of this internal circuit should be matching so that the maximum signal is achieved by your particular radio. So that is why we have a rotating mechanism in the radio where we change the impedance of the circuit so that you catch a particular signal, right? So this all is the applications of maximum power transfer theorem, and there is a phenomena called impedance matching where the impedance of the internal circuit of of any particular circuit and the impedance of the load is matched, and that is the case when the maximum power transfer happens. So we will see that in detail. So we already know from the Thevenin's theorem that any network can be converted as a combination of a voltage VTH and resistance RTH in series. So we will take from here and try to calculate the condition for maximum power from any particular network which is represented as a Thevenin equivalent to any load RL, right? So first we are going with the DC case where all we will see is that resistances and voltages and currents, right? So you know that this current I will be equal to VTH divided by RTH plus RL. And let us take this RL as variable because we want to transfer maximum power by changing the value of RL and seeing at what value of RL we will get the maximum power transferred to it. So we are going to get the condition for RL, right? What is the value of RL so that maximum power transfer happens? So we got I. What is the value of P? P is nothing but I square RL. So from here we will get VTH upon RTH plus RL whole squared into RL. So this is your equation 1 for power in load. So let me call it as PL. So this is the power in your load. So this is the quantity that you want to be maximized, right? So what happens is when you draw a curve between RL and PL, you will see that obviously when RL is 0, there will be no voltage drop across it and there is going to be zero power. So there will be a curve like this between RL and PL. And if also in the case when RL is very high, there will be no current inside it and definitely the power inside RL is going to be zero. So there is a particular point, and that point we have to calculate what is the value of the RL for which the power dissipated in this particular RL is maximum. So let us call it as Pmax, right? So at what condition this Pmax happens? So you already know a relationship between PL and RL through this equation 1, and there is a graph, and at some particular point this graph stabilizes, and at that same particular point the slope of this curve is 0, which means what we have to do, how do we have to calculate the condition of RL for getting slope is equal to 0? So which means the slope of PL with respect to RL should be equal to 0 at whatever point we will get the condition of RL. So how to do it? We will do it d differentiation of PL with respect to differentiation of RL and equate it to 0. So we are going to differentiate this equation 1 with respect to RL and equate it to 0. And I will ask you to try this differentiation at your home and calculate. So finally, we will get a condition RL is equal to RTH. This is the point where the power will be maximized in the load. So very important outcome for any DC circuit, for maximum power transfer to happen, the load resistance must be equal to the Thevenin's resistance equivalent of the circuit, right? So what will be the power in this case? Pmax. Pmax, you already know that I square into RL. And what is the maximum value of I? It is obviously Vs upon RL plus RTH square into RL. And since you got the condition that RL should be equal to RTH, so from here we will get Vs divided by RL plus RL. I am replacing RTH with RL because for maximum transfer they both will be same into RL. So from here we get Vs square upon 4RL. So this is our maximum power which will be transferred to the load, Vs square upon 4RL. Now, can you tell me the efficiency of the circuit? What is the efficiency of the circuit? Efficiency of the circuit is power went into the load divided by total power input in the circuit by the source multiplied by 100. So you already got the power entered into the load, the maximum case obviously. Since we are going to get the efficiency at maximum power transfer, so this PL max will nothing but will be the Vs square upon 4RL. And what is the input power? Input power is nothing but the total power inserted in the circuit by the voltage source. So this will be I square into definitely RL plus RTH, because you see in this circuit this current I is going, and where is all the power is dissipated? In RTH and in RL. So this will be I square into RL plus RTH. But since RL and RTH are both same, and I also, you know that it is Vs upon RL plus RL. So by replacing all this, you will get as 2RL upon 4RL, and from here this RL will be cancelled out. You can solve it, and here you will get 2 into 100, here also into 100. So you will get your efficiency as 50%. So efficiency of a DC circuit under the condition of maximum power transfer is 50%. You remember this in many competitive exams, this question comes in small objective question types, right? Now going back to this particular graph, you will see that at this point, efficiency is equal to 50%. But when you go forward and or go backward from this point where RL is equal to RTH, in both the cases, we are going to have efficiencies less than 50%. Here also efficiency will be less than 50%. So efficiency will be maximum at the point where RL is RTH, where maximum power transfer happens. Now let us do an example to understand this concept more precisely. So we have a circuit and there is a load RL connected across the point AB, and we have to find the value of RL for which maximum power transfer will happen. So as we already discussed that this part of circuit will have to be converted into the Thevenin's equivalent of the circuit across these terminals A and B, so that we can equate this value RL to the Thevenin's equivalent resistance RTH, and that is how we will get the value of RL for which maximum power transfer will happen. So for this circuit, if you want to calculate RTH, you have to remove this RL and then you have to calculate R equivalent across these points A and B. And also during that calculation, you will deactivate all the voltage and current sources. So here this Vs will be converted into a short circuit because voltage source internal resistance is 0 if it is an ideal voltage source. So the modified circuit will be like this. Okay. So this is your A terminal, this is your B terminal, and you have to calculate R equivalent from this side. So as you can see, this point, these all points are same now, right? So let me call this as point C. So for simplification, as I have already told you, we have to make all the common points. Let me call it C, this is A, and this is B. And then find the connected elements between these points. So what is the number of elements which are between A and C? Obviously, this 6 ohm and this 6 ohm. There is no other element which is between A and C, and these two are in parallel. So there is a resistance of 6 ohm, and there is also a resistance of 6 ohm in parallel. Now coming back to C and B, there is a resistance of 6 ohm and there is a resistance of 3 ohm. These are between C and B. Sorry. So this is your 6 and this is your 3. And is there anything between A and B? No, it is open circuit. So you see that between A and B, you have got two parallel combination of 6, 6 and 6, 3, and they both are in series. So what is the value of 6, 6? It will become 3. So between A, you will get 3 ohm, and then this is your C point, and then between C and B, you get 6 and 3, parallel combination of 6 and 3, you calculate, it will become 6 into 3 by 6 plus 3 is equal to 2 ohm, right? So this is your 2 ohm. Now, can you calculate the R equivalent? It's fairly simple. It is the series combination of 3 and 2, and it will become 5 ohm. So this R equivalent is nothing but your RTH. And from the definition of maximum power transfer, we just calculated that for maximum power transfer to happen, the RL value should be equal to RTH. So what will be the value of RL? It will be equal to RTH, which is equal to 5 ohm. So this is how you are going to calculate your maximum power transfer theorem circuits in the DC case. Now let us take one more example to find out the value of VA given here, so that in this whole load, which is represented by these dotted lines of red, so that the power transfer to this particular load is maximum. So we have to find the value of VA. Now there will be a question in your mind that this VA is a voltage source. So how will it be working as a load, or how will it be working as a resistor? So in the initial lectures, I had already told you that if there are two voltage sources in a particular circuit, suppose one is 10 volt, other is 5 volt, and resistance, anything, suppose R is the resistance. So here you will see that this voltage source has more value than this voltage source. So definitely this is going to deliver some current, and the same current is going to enter in this particular voltage source. So here this voltage source is working as a delivering power, but this thing is working as an absorbing power. So it is basically opposing the current provided by this 10 volt voltage source. So resistance also do the same thing. Resistance also opposes the current which goes into it, and there is a drop across this resistance. So suppose this resistance value is suppose 1 ohm, right? The resistance value is 1 ohm. So can you tell me what the value of current in this circuit? Basically 10 minus 5 divided by 1, which is 5 ampere. So 5 ampere current is going inside this circuit, and there is a drop of 5 volt voltage source across this. So what you can do is, even if you replace this voltage source, even if you replace this voltage source with a particular resistance, and if you take this resistance value of 1 ohm, you are going to see that if the same 5 ampere current goes inside, there will be a voltage drop of 5 volt, right? So even if you take a 1 ohm resistance, or in the place of it, if you can take a 5 volt resistance, 5 volt voltage source, the result is going to be the same. So the same thing is happening here in our main question, where there is a voltage source called VA, which is basically opposing this particular 20 volt voltage, and thus working as a resistance. So now we have to find the value of this VA, and uh, so that the power is which is going to the load is maximum. So let us assume it as a resistance R. Let me call this as a resistance R, similar to the what we just discussed. So in this circuit, you see that this is basically your main circuit, a Thevenin equivalent circuit, where 100 ohm is your RTH and 20 volt is your VTH. So it has got 100 and 20 volt, and then in the load section, we have, there is a 50 ohm, this is a 200 ohm, and we assume a resistance in place of VA as R, right? So the combination of this thing is making the load resistance RL. And according to maximum power transfer theorem that we just derived, this RL should be equal to RTH. And what is its value? 100 ohm, right? So the combination of these 250 and R resistance should be equal to 100 ohm. Now, as you can see, this is 200 ohm, which is in parallel of series combination of R and 50. So what will be the value of this R and 50 if they are summed, like if they are in series combination? What will be the value of this, which is in parallel of 200, so that it will become equal to 100 ohm? Very simple. If you have a 200 ohm in parallel with a resistance something R, and if you want its parallel combination to be equal to 100 ohm, then definitely this R dash, sorry, should be equal to 200 ohm, because the parallel combination of 200 and 200 is going to be 100 ohm. So it means the summation of 50 and R should be equal to 200 ohm, which means R plus 50 is equal to 200 ohm, which means R should be equal to 150 ohm. Now, we have got the resistance that we have assumed in the place of VA as 150 ohm. Now we are going to solve this circuit so as to find the voltage across this R, which will nothing but be equal to VA. So let us redraw the circuit again. So can you tell me what will be the value of current I in this circuit? Definitely, this whole thing is going to be 100 ohm and this is 100 ohm. So they are in series. So the combination of both is going to be 200 ohm. So the current I is nothing but 20 divided by 200 is equal to 0.1 ampere, right? So 0.1 ampere is going, and you know that this also is 200 ohm and this also is 200 ohm. So the current which is going to be divided is exactly the same. So there will be a 0.05 ampere going in this and this also. Now you want the voltage drop across this 150 ohm resistance, and that is going to be equal to your VA, right? So what you have to do, you just have to multiply this current 0.05 ampere into 150. So VA is going to be 0.05 into 150, which is nothing but 7.5 volts. So we have got our VA as 7.5 volt, for which there will be a maximum power transfer to the load. Now, till now we have discussed maximum power transfer theorem in DC circuits. Now, let us see for AC circuits. Now, in an AC circuit, you are going to have an AC source, and the impedances will now be complex. So, the Thevenin's equivalent impedance will be RTH plus JXTH, where X is the reactive component and R is the real component, which is resistor. And similarly, ZL will be RL plus JXL. So in this circuit, if we want to calculate the current, this current is, let me call it as VTH, sorry, this VTH. The current is going to be VTH divided by ZTH plus ZL, which is equal to VTH divided by, let us combine the real part and imaginary part together. So we will get RTH plus RL plus, let's take common J, we will get XTH plus XL. So this is going to be your I, the value of I. So this is complex I. If you want to take the magnitude of I, if you talk about the magnitude of I, the I magnitude will be VTH divided by under root RTH plus RL squared plus XTH plus XL squared. So this is the value of your current. Now, if you want to calculate the power in this circuit, power is nothing but I squared into RL. So why did we take RL? Why did we not take XL also, or why did we not take ZL? Because in the maximum power transfer theorem, we are only going to talk about the real power or the active power, not the reactive or complex power, right? So uh, putting the value of I from here, we will get P is equal to VTH into RL divided by under root RTH plus RL squared plus XTH plus XL squared. So this is the expression of power in the load, right? Now we have to calculate the value of RL, for which maximum power is transferred to the load, right? To do that, we have to first see the different conditions. There are actually three conditions, or you can say four conditions, in which we have to calculate the values of this RL, and these are dependent on the variability of this ZL. Your ZL is variable, but in one case, the both RL and XL are going to be variable. In some cases, there is only RL going to be variable and XL is going to be constant. In some cases, ZL should be equal to RL and the XL is not at all there. So in all these cases, we have to calculate differently. and find the value of RL for which maximum power is transferred. So let us put them in three different cases. So let us take case 1. In case 1, where ZL is equal to RL plus JXL, both RL and XL are variable. So in this case, how do you calculate the value of RL for which maximum power is transferred? Since in this equation, let me call it as equation 1, there is a both the terms are there, RL and XL. So we have to differentiate this value P with respect to both RL and XL to find the condition for which we have a maximum power in the RL. So in the equation 1, or you can say differentiate equation 1 with respect to RL and XL, and we will find, so you do that at your home, and then you will know that we will find a condition where RL plus JXL should be equal to RTH minus JXTH. So this is the condition for the case 1 circuit where both RL and XL are variable. So if you fulfill this, you will get the maximum power transfer to the load. So, or you can say that ZL should be equal to ZTH complex conjugated. The complex conjugate of ZTH should be equal to the value of ZL, so that maximum power transfer will happen. And also by comparing the real and imaginary part, we can say that RL should be equal to RTH and XL should be equal to minus XTH. And this is the condition by which you will get maximum power transfer. So let us put these values in this equation 1, and we will find out that P max is equal to VTH square upon 4 RL. You just put it and you will see that this XTH and XL will be cancelled out, and these two are same. So what you will get is you will get VTH square upon 4 RL, right? Sorry, I did a little mistake here in this equation. So let me cover it. So this whole thing is basically squared. This whole thing is squared because I is squared, right? So if you square this whole thing is going to get squared, and this under root will go away. So if you put the values here, you are going to get your P max as VTH square upon 4 RL. Now let us talk about the efficiency. Now for efficiency, I already told you that efficiency is equal to power in the load, and since we are talking about the maximum power, we will take the case of PL max divided by input power in the circuit by the source, so and multiplied by 100. So can you tell me what was the PL? It was nothing but current in the circuit, and since this is a simple series circuit, there will only be one current flowing in it. So it will be I square into RL. We will take only RL and not the whole ZL or XL, because we are talking only about the active power or real power, divided by I square into, it will be the summation of RL plus RTH, right, multiplied by 100. We are talking only about active power. So from the previous case, we already knew that RL is equal to RTH. So if we put this here, we will get this I square will be cancelled out. So let me not use it. So we will get RL divided by 2RL into 100, which is going to be 50%. So in this case also, we are going to get our efficiency as 50%. Now coming back to the case 2, where RL is variable and XL is constant, when we differentiate equation 1, what was that equation 1? This equation 1 was this. So if we differentiate this equation 1, which is of a power equation, with respect to RL, since only RL is variable, we will get the value of RL as magnitude of ZTH plus JXL. Remember, this XL is a constant now, it is not variable. So in the magnitude form, we can also write it as the magnitude of RTH plus J. Let us take the imaginary parts together. So it will become XTH plus XL magnitude. So you can also say RL is nothing but under root RTH squared plus XTH plus XL squared. So for the case 2 circuit, your RL is going to be equal to this thing. And what is going to happen with the efficiency? We already discussed that efficiency. This is the general formula of efficiency. From here, you can see that you can write efficiency is equal to RL upon RL plus RTH into 100. You just remember this formula of efficiency for any circuit in the maximum power transfer theorem, because current is going to be common and we are only talking about the active power, so we will take only the resistances, right? So this is your efficiency formula. So we are going to directly use that formula here. So RL upon RL plus RTH into 100. So can you tell me what will be the value of this efficiency? If it is equal to 50%, or it is going to be greater than 50 or less than 50%? Tell me. So in the previous cases, this RL was equal to RTH, right? So in the previous two cases, the DC case and the first case of AC, we saw that this RL was equal to RTH. So basically RTH divided by RTH plus RTH is going to be 50%. But now, as you can see, this RL value is a little bit greater than RTH. This particular thing is added. If this was not here, the RL would have been equal to RTH. But since now this particular value is added in here, we can say that RL is now greater than RTH. So what will be happening here? What will be the value of efficiency? Will that be greater than 50% or less than or equal to 50? Now we can easily see that it cannot be equal to 50%. Why? Suppose in the previous two cases, RL is equal to RTH is equal to 30 ohm, right? So in that previous cases, we would have find 30 divided by 30 plus 30 is equal into 100 is equal to 50%. But now, since our RL is little bit greater than RTH, so let me take RL as 40, and now let us put the RTH as same as 30. So what will happen now? You will have to divide 40 divided by 40 plus 30. So it is basically 40 divided by 70 into 100. So what is this? Is it greater than 50 or less than 50? It is definitely greater than 50. So you will get greater than 50%. So in this case, efficiency is greater than 50%. Right? Let us go to the third case. Now in the third case, we have load only resistive. There is no XL. XL is equal to 0. So if we, similarly to the previous cases, if we differentiate equation 1 with respect to RL, what we are going to get is RL is nothing but magnitude of ZTH. RL is nothing but the magnitude of ZTH, which is incidentally going to be the magnitude of RTH plus JXTH. And finally, we can write it as RTH square plus XTH square. So this is the case, the condition of maximum power transfer for the third case of AC circuits. So if we talk about efficiency, similarly, can you tell me if this RL is greater than RTH or not? Yes, this RL is also greater than RTH. So efficiency, which is RL divided by RL plus RTH multiplied by 100, is definitely going to be greater than 50%. Clear? So this was our third case. Now coming to the final case. Now talking about the case 4, in this case, both RL and XL are variable, but the load impedance angle, which is, if you draw the phasor diagram of ZL, which is like this, RL here, XL here, and this is going to be your ZL. So this angle theta will always remain constant. So this is the condition. where RL is also variable, XL is also variable, but the angle theta should be uh, constant between them. So in that case, if you differentiate equation 1 with respect to ZL, now since RL and XL both are constant, RL and XL both are variable, but this angle theta is constant. So you can say that RL is always equal to ZL cos theta, and XL is always equal to ZL sine theta. So if you differentiate equation 1 with respect to ZL, after putting the values of RL and XL in the form of ZL in the equation 1, if you go to equation 1 here, you will see that here is RL and here is XL. So you can replace this value in the form of ZL, like ZL cos theta and ZL sin theta. And if you differentiate that equation with respect to ZL, you will get a condition as ZL is equal to ZTH. So what does it mean by that? RL plus JXL is going to be equal to RTH plus JXTH, which means if you take apart the real and the imaginary terms, you can say that RL is equal to RTH and XL is equal to XTH. So this is your case 4 circuit, and it is very rare that questions come from this particular case, but we are going to see an example which is I think going to have a question from case 3. So let us take this example and find the maximum power in the load impedance ZL. So here you see that voltage sources are written in this form: 110 angle 0. This is basically angle. This represents angle 0. And impedances are written as 6 plus J8 and 6 plus J8. Two impedances are there. So before we go and find the value of RL and the maximum power into this RL, let us first understand what is all about this polar form and complex form. So let me write a variable P in the form of complex A plus JB. Let me call it as A plus JB. So A is the real part and B is the imaginary part. JB is, J represents the imaginary term. So this is your complex form of writing. So if you draw it in phasor, you can see that A will be like this, B will be like this, and the resultant is going to be your P. So there is definitely going to be an angle between them, which is, you can say theta is equal to tan inverse B divided by A, right? This is your angle. So can you tell me the magnitude of P? The magnitude of P is nothing but it is going to be under root A square plus B square. And can you tell me the angle of P? It is nothing but theta, which is equal to tan inverse B divided by A. So one form is that you write a particular vector in complex form like this, and there is another way which is called a polar form, in which you can write this vector P, in the polar form also. So let me call this magnitude P as small r, and the theta will remain as theta. So in the polar form, this same P can be written as P is equal to small r, which is nothing but the magnitude of P and angle theta, right? And what is the value of r? R is nothing but under root A square plus B square, and angle is nothing but tan inverse B by A. So this is the polar form of representation of any vector or any complex quantity. And also this angle theta can also be written like this. So if you can say, see from here, if you just talk about the magnitude, if you can see from here, you can write A is equal to magnitude of P cos theta and B is equal to magnitude of P sine theta. So if you have to write this whole vector P, you will write A plus JB. So if you want to write it as in this form, so you can write it as magnitude of P cos theta plus J magnitude of P sine theta. So if you can take this magnitude of P, you can write it as cos theta plus J sine theta. Now, this magnitude of P can also be written as R. So you can write it as R. And this cos theta plus J sine theta can also be written as like this, e to the power J theta. You already know it from the mathematics. So P is equal to R is equal to e to the power J theta, where R is the magnitude of P, and this is called the angle of P, the theta which is represented by that. So this thing is also is called the another form of polar form. So this same thing, R e to the power J theta, is written in the simpler way as R angle theta. So this is called the polar form. And similarly, you can convert a complex form to polar form and polar form back to complex form. So in the questions that we will see, we are going to frequently see either the polar form or the complex form in the case of voltage and current sources and the impedances, right? So after solving some question, you are going to get fluent in this. Now coming back to the question, since we have a load between these terminals A and B, so first we have to calculate the Thevenin equivalent of this circuit, which is the parallel combination of this and this, so that it would become easier for us to calculate the value of RL and then the maximum power in the load. So our modified circuit will be like this. So these two things, you can see that these are in parallel. So 6 plus J8 and this thing are in parallel. So let me write it that way. So we have to find the voltage between A and B. So what is the best method? You just call this as VA and apply the nodal analysis. So let's apply the nodal analysis at VA. So we will get VA minus 110 angle 0 divided by 6 plus J8 plus VA minus 90 angle 0 divided by 6 plus J8 is equal to 0. So if you want to calculate this 100 0 in either in the complex form, or if you want to calculate this 6 plus J8 into the polar form, it is very easy. So you already know that for 6 plus J8, if you want to calculate into the polar form, you will have to find the magnitude first, which is R. So R will be nothing but equal to under root 6 square plus 8 square. So it will be become 10, right? And what will be the angle? And if you want to calculate theta, theta will be nothing but tan inverse 8 divided by 6. So calculate it from your calculator, it will give 53.13 degrees. So this can be written as R angle theta. So definitely it will become 10 angle 53.13. So this is how you will calculate your any complex number into the polar form. And similarly, if you have polar form, suppose you have 110 angle 0, so you can write it as this is your R, this is your theta. So you can definitely write it as R cos theta plus J R sine theta. So it will become 100 cos 0 plus J 100 sine 0. So it will basically become 100, or only real part. Since the theta is 0, it is going to be real. So I just told you to how to we can calculate any complex number in the form of polar form and polar form into the back to the complex. And there is a method in your calculator also, your scientific calculator. You can explore on, if you can check the tutorial videos on YouTube, you can directly calculate between these polar and complex values. So try that. So coming back to the question, this VA is nothing but equal to VTH, as we have taken this as our reference node. So solving this, you can now solve it very easily. We will get our VTH, which is nothing but VA is equal to 100 angle 0 degree. You just solve it, you will get this answer. So we got our VTH of the Thevenin circuit. Now we have to get our ZTH. So let's calculate ZTH for the given circuit. So for calculating ZTH, we have to deactivate all the voltages in the circuit, and we will only be left with these two impedances, which were having a value of 6 plus J8 and 6 plus J8. So this was your A and B, and here both these voltage sources are short circuited. So you see that the parallel combination of 6 plus J8 and 6 plus J8, basically they will be divided by 2. So we will get as ZOC is equal to basically ZTH, which will be equal to 3 plus J4, which is a division of 6 plus J8 divided by 2, because they are in the parallel combination. So now we can draw our modified circuit. This is our ZTH, which is nothing but 3 plus J4, and then we have our VTH, which is nothing but 100 angle 0, and we have our ZL, which is nothing but RL, and it is variable also, and it is connected between A and B. Since this ZL is having only RL and there is no XL in this component, so this is the case 3 circuit of our AC circuits for the maximum power transfer theorem. For this case, we saw that for calculating maximum power, we have to have RL is equal to under root ZTH, which means under root RTH plus XTH ka whole square. So this RL value will be under root RTH square plus XTH square. And from here you can see that this 3 is RTH and this 4 is XTH. So we can directly put the values. So we will get 3 square plus 4 square, and solving it we will get 5 ohm. So our RL should be of 5 ohm. Now the power in this RL will be, PL max will be I square into RL. And what is the value of I? I is nothing but VTH upon ZTH plus ZL. So if we talk about the magnitude, this is going to be VTH divided by RTH plus RL whole squared plus since we do not have any XL, so it will be XTH squared, and the whole thing will go under root. So if we put all the values in here, we will get PL max is equal to 100 angle 0 divided by 3 plus so our RTH was 3 ohm plus our RL was 5 ohm, and whole thing is squared, plus our XTH was 4, but there was no XL, so it was squared, and then we will take whole thing as under root. And since this is I value, we will have to square it, I square into, and RL value is 5. So on calculating it, we will get 625 watt. So it's very simple. You just have to calculate the current and multiply it with the load resistance so as to get your maximum power transferred in the load. So let us come back to Telegen's theorem. And in this theorem, it states that the algebraic sum of all the powers in all the elements in any circuit at any particular instant is equal to 0. So for at any particular time, if a circuit has resistances, inductor, capacitor, current, and voltages, everything, the sum of all the powers is going to be 0. And it doesn't matter if the circuit is linear or non-linear, unidirectional or bidirectional, time variant or time invariant, it doesn't matter. Because this principle works on the basis of the law of conservation of energy. And the law of conservation of energy states that the energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to other form. So in mathematical form, we can say that if suppose a circuit is having n elements, so we can say that the summation of all the powers, power is nothing but voltage and multiplied by the current. So let me call it Vk multiplied by Ik should be equal to 0. And remember, there are two kinds of power in a circuit. One is delivering and other is absorbing. So we will have to take negative sign for one and positive sign for other. So if you are taking a positive sign for delivering, you have to take a negative power sign for absorbing. So the total amount of power that is delivered should be equal to total amount of power that is absorbed. So we will see an example and then we'll close this video. So in this example circuit, we have to find we have to prove that this circuit follows Telegen's theorem. So let me call this current as I1. Let me call this current as I2 and let me call this current as I3. So if you want to find the value of I1, we have to find the total resistance across this voltage source. So let us find the total voltage resistance across this 12-volt voltage source. So we can see that this 6 ohm and 3 ohm are in parallel, and which is in turn in series with 2 ohm. So let me call it as R equivalent, and R equivalent will be equal to 2, which is this ohm, and parallel combination of 6 and 3. So it will be like 6 into 3 upon 6 plus 3. So we will get 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 ohm. So our R equivalent is 4 ohm. So can you tell me the current I1 in the circuit, which is going to be divided between I2 and I3? So I1 is definitely going to be our 12 volt divided by 4 ohm, which is equal to 3 ampere. Now, what can you tell me the value of I2? What is the value of I2? Using the current division rule, you can simply say that I2 is equal to I1 into 3 divided by 3 plus 6. So it will become how much? I1 by 3. So it will become 1 ampere. And similarly, your I3 value will be nothing but I1 minus I2, which will be equal to 2 ampere. So we got our I1 value as 3 ampere, I2 value as 1 ampere, and I3 value as 2 ampere. So now we are in the position to calculate all the powers. So as you know that the current is exiting from this 12 volt power supply. So we can say that this power supply is delivering. So can you tell me the power in this voltage source? It is definitely going to be 12 into I1. And what is I1? It is 3. And I'm going to take its sign as plus because it is delivering, right? So 12 into 3. Now the same I1 is going into this 2 ohm voltage source, resistor. So what is going to be the power inside this 2 ohm resistor? Either you can say it I square R, or you can calculate the value of voltage, which is nothing but the multiplication of I1 into 2, and then you can multiply the value of current again. So you can since this is absorbing power, you have to write the sign as negative. So you will write it as minus what is the voltage across 2 ohm? It is going to be Let me write a general case first so that it will become easier for you to understand. So let me call it as V and I1. So the first case is going to be V into I1 plus, let me call the second voltage as I1 into 2. So this is your voltage across 2 ohm and multiplied by the current. So it will be multiplied by the current again as 2. This will become your power. Then since this is absorbing power, so we have to take the sign as negative. Then again minus, in this circuit, what is the voltage drop? It is nothing but 6 into I2. So we can say that I2 into 6 is going to be the voltage across 6 ohm multiplied by the current again. So it will be multiplied by the current again I2. And here also, sorry, I have to write I1. And since this is also absorbing, so we have written the negative term. And again, we will take the negative sign for this also. And what is the voltage drop across 3 ohm? It is going to be I3 into 3 and multiplied by what? Again, I3 to get the power, which is, this is V and this is I. So we, if this whole summation is going to be 0, our intelligence theorem will be proved. So V, what is the value of V? Let us put the values. 12 into I1 is nothing but 3 minus, what is our I1? It is again 3 multiplied by 2, again multiplied by 3. Now again we will go to minus and calculate this one. So what was our I2? I2 was 1 ampere multiplied by 6 and again multiplied by 1. Then we will take again a minus sign and take I3 as 2 ampere multiplied by 3 into again 2. So we will see that 12 गुणे 3, yeah, you can say 12 into 3 is 48. Not sorry, what is, my mind is not working right now. What happens is, if you speak for very long time, your brain stops working. So you try that. So if you multiply 12 into 3, you will get 36 minus, what will this become? This will become 18. What will this become? It will be 6. And what will this become? 12. So you add all these. So you will get 36 minus this, all will become 36, and answer will be 0. So it proves that this circuit follows Theligen's. And not only this circuit, any circuit at any particular given time follows Theligen's theorem always. Right. So thank you for this lecture, and in the next lecture video we are going to cover Millman's theorem, compensation theorem, and what do we call it, substitution theorem, and thus we will complete our network theorems part.